if you look at the Japanese culture, from a business point of view, there are a few things you must take in mind. And there are basically 7 dimensions of culture, and you can go to this World Business Culture website and you can plug in your own view on things, and it will tell you how your culture compares to some of the other business cultures. But the first thing is social position. Their management structures are very hierarchical still, and social position is very, very important. And senior managers tend to be patriotic orientated, and subordinates accept direct instructions quite easily. That's my experience. How does it work? Everything gets gathered from the bottom up, but the person at the top will give the direction and the decision making. And at the end of the day, the direction will be very clear. Once consensus is generated in the structure, everybody will exactly know what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. It is an incredibly, incredibly efficient system. But for us as Westerners and South Africans, sometimes it might feel very, very slow, because the group orientation is very strong. What the group think and what the group decide is much more important than the individual's decision. One contribution to the group is more important than the individual's performance by itself. Of course, everybody's individual performance gets appreciated, but the consensus that's generated out of the group makes that decision-making is just much better. Then, people relationships. Personal relationships are very important. And one of the things about personal relationships is that it takes time to establish personal relationships. And it gets established over time. It doesn't happen overnight. But once you have relationships, it's relationships for life. And you build a network within the organization around you. And you form part of these networks that eventually support you and help you to get things done. But losing face is not on. You must never ever lose your credibility or your face, as the Japanese say. You have just lost face. At all times you must avoid that. How do you lose face? You lose face if you have information which is not accurate. You lose face if the column doesn't add up to 100, if it must add up to 100. These are the little things which is very important. Then the business focus. Personal qualities of business counterparts and interpersonal trust is incredibly important. That interpersonal trust, to establish the trust, takes time. But once you've established that trust, you get part of the group, and consensus can be created. Communication style. Japanese tend to be very diplomatic in the use of their language. For instance, a Japanese person, it's very polite in their way of approaching things. They will be very polite in telling you actually don't know what you're doing. They will, if you look at koi, for instance, you don't say to somebody, gee, but you've got ugly koi. You would look at the koi and you would say, this koi has got merits. But it also has some demerits. So the politeness and the way they communicate is very, very important. And sometimes you'll see many people will say to you, but Japanese won't say no. Is it true? In the business environment you operate in, will they just say to you no? Once you've established the trust, once you've been involved with them for a long time, it's very easy for them to say to you no. But in the beginning, you'll find that they'll say to you things like, we will study. Further study is now required. Then you must know this is a no. Then, very, very important, time management. Time is relative, but keeping to time is critically